Hi, welcome to my channel. This is going to be a check-in on twin flame energy, soul, deep soul connection energy, if that resonates for you. I haven't done a twin flame reading in a long time, and I feel like the energy is shifting right now. So I've been called to look at the divine feminine and divine masculine energy as a check-in to support you in your journey in any way. I do sense that there has been a lack of communication or no communication in many of the twin flame connections, soulmate connections. If you are new to twin flame connections, what it basically is a divine partnership. And I'm simplifying it. There's a lot of information out there on twin flames if it's something that you feel called to look into. Especially if you are in a connection where you feel that there is this runner-chaser dynamic where you mirror each other's woundings to each other. You might find that there are a lot of similarities in your childhood and how you grew up, in the household you grew up in, the environment you grew up in. There could be a lot of similarities. There's usually also an age difference with the twin flame energy. It doesn't have to be, but there's usually an age difference, or that's one of the indications. And it's a connection that feels telepathic. It feels energetically connected. It's something you probably have never experienced before. You can feel their energy, you know what they are thinking, you know what they are feeling. You start developing your own sense of intuition, and your gifts start coming in when activated by a twin flame or this type of soul connection, especially after intimacy. So intimacy, sacred energy exchange, is the one way that activation can happen for the masculine and the feminine. Even intimacy feels on another level with the twin flame energy. It's just something that can't be compared or explained. It is on an energetic level. So let's start with the divine feminine check-in. I do feel like there's a lot going on in terms of our ascension and spiritual growth. In a lot of the readings, and this is actually what inspired me or spurred me on to do the twin flame connection, because what I'm picking up in a lot of the collective energy in all of the readings is that there's a sense of moving away from connections that no longer satisfy us emotionally, spiritually, mentally, physically. It's more the energetic, spiritual level that we are walking away from. Drawing clear boundaries, the divine feminine, no longer overgiving, moving away from, carrying a martyr syndrome or feeling like you have to fix the situation, feeling isolated. So being forced in a way into isolation, and the universe brings this about, this hermit energy for the divine feminine, so that there is space for us to integrate the lessons and integrate our gifts. And this is what has been happening for me in the last couple of months, is in doing this work, in doing the healing work, in embracing more of my gifts, more of my calling, in stepping into alignment with the purpose that my soul chose to come here to fulfill. I found that I've been forced, I use the word forced lightly, but the universe kind of gently directs us into an energy of isolation, so that there's no distraction interfering with your healing, because that tends to then block how we are able to see and visualize what needs to still be healed, what needs to still be worked on in order to step fully into alignment and to bring forth abundance, wealth, love into our space. Yes, and the card healing flipped over as I was saying that. It is also a difficult, painful period for some of us, or maybe, this resonates for some of you, of no contact with your divine partner or your masculine energy. And this is essential for the growth of the connection, whether it is moving into a romantic connection, whether it is moving into sacred union with each other, or whether it is just simply to close off the cycle, activate the ascension in the other, and then allow life to unfold. Twin flames don't always end up in partnership because it is such an intense and difficult connection. The masculine and the feminine trigger each other to heal, trigger each other, or activate each other's healing and growth, spiritual growth and spiritual ascension. So that is actually what is happening in the collective right now. I especially picked this up with opposite signs of the zodiac, so Scorpio and Taurus, Aries and Libra, Leo and Aquarius. I'm finding that the energy of Leo, as an example, is igniting an energy in Aquarius to move. The energy of Scorpio, and we are in Scorpio season now, is igniting an energy in Taurus to move. This makes sense because the sun and the moon, the divine feminine, the divine masculine, are opposites in a way. It's two sides of a coin. It's Gemini energy, twin energy. And in order to come into our own wholeness, we need to embrace both sides of the coin and both perspectives in any situation. And especially in coming into sacred union, what needs to happen is the masculine and the feminine both need to be standing in their embodiment of masculine and feminine energy, divine, healed masculine and feminine energy, so that we come together, back together in wholeness. Why the isolation of the feminine and masculine is so important is there are some triggers that cannot, or wounds, traumas, soul traumas, that cannot be healed when you are still in connection, because what is going to continue happening is the cycle will continue to repeat itself, especially if there is no change in behavior and it's more the masculine energy that needs to shift. How the masculine learns is in the physical world, in the 3D world. They learn and ascend through karmic relationships. And as I was saying, that the card of anxiety or overthinking came out. They learn through karmic relationships. They learn through lessons in career, lessons about money. Money is the greatest spiritual teacher. Ego deaths, abundance, wealth, status. It's a lot to do with evolving the ego with the masculine energy. With the feminine energy, it's about embracing our gifts and our soul calling, and also stepping into an energy of being able to receive and being able to expand. We cannot expand if we have a block around receiving, if we have any feelings of unworthiness about receiving in the physical world, or even in the energetic world. And this is a challenge that I am working with. I didn't even realize that I had a block around being able to receive. But for me, this might help some of you, is receiving for me feels like I'm taking, and I don't deserve to just take something. And the lesson that I'm integrating right now is, if I don't work through my blocks around being able to receive with grace and being able to receive in gratitude, then I'm going to block the energy of receiving everywhere in my life, including my business, including finance, including wealth, including love, everything that has to do with the energy of receiving. Abandonment wounds come up, significantly with the divine feminine as well. This fear of abandonment, fear of rejection by the masculine, and learning for ourselves that this abandonment and rejection is actually what we do to ourselves when we stay in a connection that we know is not emotionally fulfilling our needs. It's more of a emotional with the twin flame energy than it is physical, because the physical is usually off the charts with twin flame energy. It's more of an emotional, mental and spiritual misalignment that happens if the two individuals are not at a place where their frequencies can match. So what happens when the divine feminine isolates and starts to grow and ascend and level up, vibe up? It activates that energy in the masculine, and they start to see their truth. They start to move into alignment. At first, for them, it might be, a sense of relief that they have, that there's no longer this pressure, because they can feel the intensity of the connection as well, and it can be misinterpreted depending on their wounding and depending on how they approach love. It can be misinterpreted as pressure or feeling controlled. And so the no contact and isolation in the beginning could be a relief for the masculine energy, until the void or the silence becomes so loud that they actually have to start facing what it is that's keeping them blocked from growing, from ascending, and from removing themselves from karmic cycles, karmic loops, karmic lessons that are repeating across timelines. This is also happening, and I will get to the cards just now. I'm just downloading a lot of messages. I'll get to the cards just now. One more thing is that the divine feminine, and this is what happens when I talk too much. I lose my train of thought. The divine feminine is understanding that they don't have to fix the situation, that their natural tendency when uncomfortable, especially when there's a void, when there's a silence, is to jump in and try to make peace, try to reconcile, try to apologize, even if there's nothing to apologize for, to remove the discomfort as quickly as possible and distract from the intense feeling of missing. It's a very deep missing. Some days are harder than others, but it feels like an ache. It feels like there's a part of your soul that's missing. It feels like there's a part of your physical body that's missing. It almost feels like a death when there is no contact and separation in these deep soul connections. It feels like the person has died and there's no access to them. Although you still feel their energy, you can sometimes wonder if you are going crazy, and if the visions you have, yes, the visions, the dreams that you are having are real. What is actually happening right now is we are shifting timelines. We are going back into different timelines within this lifetime, and also going back to timelines of previous lifetimes where we've shared a lifetime together with our divine masculine or feminine, and healing those timelines, because they weren't always easy lifetimes. A lot of the time, the lifetimes that the twin flames, besides Atlantis, where, it was heaven on earth, basically. But after that, a lot of the times, the twin flames were in very difficult energy, and usually in separation, usually learning lessons. There was either a difference in hierarchy for the masculine and feminine, or there was a difference in culture, or it was a relationship that was condemned or looked down upon, a Romeo Juliet kind of a dynamic, or the feminine chose differently, or the masculine chose differently. So those wounds of abandonment and rejection are not only coming from our experiences in this lifetime, but also from our experiences in past lifetimes, which is why sometimes you can't explain why there is this anxiety or nervousness about the connection, why you have the physical reaction like the heart palpitations and the heat in the body when you think about them, or when you are in their presence. I actually used to physically shake. My hands would shake. I felt like this intense form of overwhelm of my nervous system, and I couldn't always explain why, but it was my soul recognizing that this is a deep soul connection, a profound connection that is going to bring forth many lessons and activate many things in my life. And it has done. If it wasn't for his presence, if it wasn't for his energy, and it's his energy that I miss the most. If it wasn't for that, I would not have been where I am. I really do believe that this connection activated a lot of my gifts and moving into my growth, making decisions for my alignment. And so this is why the isolation is important, so that as we grow, the masculine is then given the space to grow, and they need the space, they need the lack of communication in order to face what it is they need to heal. And some of us can choose not to. We have free will. So as we go through this reading, just remember that these are potential messages. We still have free will. So in this lifetime, either the masculine or feminine can choose not to step onto the path. So let's see what is going on. I'm going to start with the feminine and then see, the response of the masculine and what the dynamic is. Messages, please and thank you, Spirit, for our Divine Feminine Collective. Messages of advice, love, and guidance. Only messages of the light. Negative energy must leave this space now. For the Divine Feminine, please and thank you. What are the main messages for the collective right now? Okay, Libra, card of balance, card of justice, card of fairness, major arcana. I feel like this isolation or realization has come in, and it's about lightening your heart load as well, Divine Feminine. It has come in probably during Libra season. I did feel like this was an intense Libra season, but this is also about your alignment and stepping in your own truth and understanding what your truth is, because many times we don't even understand what our calling is or what our truth is. This is about balancing, the spiritual knowledge with what's happening physically in the body. It's about looking at things from a different perspective again, two sides of a coin, opposites igniting or activating each other. But being able to see the different perspectives without any bias or judgment, and understanding the journey from both perspectives, the masculine and the feminine, without imposing on that journey the traditional societal norms, the 3D norms that we are conditioned to believe, that marriage has to look a certain way, that spiritual growth needs to look a certain way, that our religious beliefs need to look a certain way. Fear-based, control-based conditioning that needs to be undone and rewired. Especially with these types of connections, they don't fit the traditional mold. And that is also what tends to scare the masculine more than the feminine. But it's because it doesn't fit the traditional mold that it triggers a lot of what the conditioning is. But this is coming into balance, I think, with the feminine at least. What else for the divine feminine? Page of Wands energy, so curiosity, exploration, divine feminine energy, so definitely some curiosity here, some exploration of the world, of yourself. I think you're finding a new sense of excitement and joy in your creativity, divine feminine. Moving away from conflict. And this is in every situation in our lives. It's moving away from self-sabotage, from opinions, from overthinking, from situations, people, and circumstances that cause us to overthink and disrupt our peace. It's very much about boundaries. It's very much about moving to calmer waters and following what is in alignment with us. And in this process, you will find that you will lose a lot of connections, because the people that once benefited from your lack of boundary or your diluted boundaries now are very confused when you are drawing clear ones. And you are not doing it out of, any malicious intent. It's for your own peace, it's for your own healing and your own energetic growth. And you're starting to see, divine feminine, who is in your life that takes from you versus, that gives as much as they take. So it's about reciprocity here. It's about balance. So 2 cards of balance. Again, walking away. So very similar energy here. Walking away from emotional situations that do not fulfill us anymore. We are willing to actually leave all of these cups behind. Relationships, career, family even, friendships that don't serve us, that don't fill our cup, because you can see all of these cups that she's walking away from are empty. This is about walking towards our wish fulfillment. And it's about subconscious integration. It's understanding what is it that keeps us in empty cup energy. Why are we staying there? What are the reasons we believe that we don't deserve our wish fulfillment? It's moving away from that energy. It's moving towards wish fulfillment. Both of those cards. The divine feminine could be traveling as well. And divine union. So this is what you are visualizing, divine feminine, but it's also about union within yourself. It's about the balance of masculine and feminine energy within yourself is what you are also understanding and working on. but this is what is going to bring in and call in a soul that matches your frequency. The reason the running and the chasing happens is because if we are not at the same frequency, we are going to repel each other. It's just the law of energy, the law of frequency. If you're not vibrating at the same frequency, and if one or the other still has some work to do, you're not going to find each other. In fact, you become invisible to each other energetically until you are both again at the same level of vibration. So you are working on your vibration here, Divine Feminine, and it's not something conscious always, but as soon as we go into separation, it triggers something. Yes, working on your craft. So being consistent, working on the things that you know are going to bring you your abundance, being disciplined about it, being resolute about it, perfecting your craft and what it is that you want to offer the world. This could also be about acquiring new knowledge, but it's definitely putting your efforts into your work, Divine Feminine, your sacred work, your ikigai, your divine service to the world, and what your offering is to the world. And it's when we focus on ourselves, that the growth happens, that then automatically activates the masculine energy. At the bottom of the deck, the Queen of Wands, so definitely radiating a magnetism here. As you vibe up Divine Feminine, people are going to sense it, people will see it. Your creativity and your gifts are going to start to come in. It's a very magnetic energy. And your masculine, if you have been blessed to have met them, and even if you haven't met them, your masculine is going to sense this energy shift and this magnetism, even if they don't know who you are and haven't yet found you. It will magnetize the right person or partner into your life. And that's not always, that's not the reason we work on our spiritual growth and ascension, but it is a divine consequence of it. So for the single feminines, okay, so let's see what's going on now with the masculine. What is going on with the masculine? Please and thank you. Okay, so maybe in the beginning of the separation, celebrating a sense of freedom. They could also be connecting with other energies, but what they will sense is, the depth is missing. This is also about community, so they could be, distracting themselves right now with friendship circles or community circles or just socializing in general, to avoid having to sit in the emotion. But your energy, I feel, is always lingering in the background. What else for the masculine? 6 of Cups, there's missing energy here. So they also, are traversing timelines. They also are going back, maybe to memories, maybe looking at memories of the two of you together or reminiscing about the emotional connection, missing something if you haven't met yet and not understanding what it is that you're missing. But there's a sense of something is missing. There's an energetic void. There's an emotional void at the moment with the masculine. It's also childlike energy, and if you've ever experienced this with your twin flame or soul connection, it feels sometimes like our inner children are playing together, even in separation, and if you've had dreams or visions about this, it's actually really happening. You're not crazy. It's like their inner child and our inner child start to play together. And that's really where the understanding comes from, because with a connection like this, childhood, experiences are so parallel, that our inner children and the wounds that those children have are is what is connecting us to this person. And that's the sense, that's the missing energy. It's like missing your best friend when you were a child, or reminiscing about the best memories of your childhood. They feel like they want to reach out, but something is holding them back. Wow, okay, so clarifying the Six of Swords for the Divine Feminine, we now have the same card from a different deck for the Divine Masculine. This is amazing, and it just shows how we mirror each other. So as the feminine is moving away from conflict energy, from overthinking, from self-sabotage, so is the masculine moving to calmer waters, no longer willing to settle for the drama. Actually realizing for the first time the drama that is surrounding them, and no longer willing to be in that, wanting to shift that, wanting to change that. The top of this deck, not by coincidence, is the 5. That's the 5 of Swords energy. It's a lot of overthinking. It's a lot of opinions. It's a lot of noise in the mind. It's conflict in communication. It's also self-sabotage. It's running away from what we know is going to bring us joy because of our fears of rejection, abandonment, failure. There's a whole spectrum. But this is beautiful energy. So both the masculine and the feminine, drawing boundaries, moving away from conflict. What else for the masculine? Boundaries. Yes, integrating, what's in the subconscious, protecting their energy, and drawing boundaries, with people, places, things, circumstances that don't align with them. This is about them coming into alignment. And in order to understand what that alignment looks like, we have to go into the wounding. We have to go into the shadow. Again, the mirror, the light and the shadow. We have to go into the shadow. The shadow work, as described by Carl Jung, is those subconscious drivers that navigate for us without us even knowing, that cause us to make certain choices about things without even knowing. What the masculine is now doing is, in this isolation, being able to illuminate. What it is doing is illuminating for them what their blocks are and what triggers exist in the connection with you and what is actually going on in the dynamic. It is a major arcana, card of Cancer. So you could be dealing with a Cancer, or, the Cancer energy is nurturing energy, it's emotional energy. It's about resting as well. The masculine, it can feel overwhelmed by this emotion right now because it's something they've always blocked seeing. And because of your presence, Divine Feminine, they've never actually had to sit in the energy. With your energy being withdrawn, it's forcing them to face certain realities. And because of that, integrating that knowledge and then being able to understand what their sacred no and what their sacred yes is, which is very important for boundaries. We have to understand ourselves fully to know what it is that we want and that we don't want in our lives. What else for the masculine? Please and thank you. Heartbreak. So with the Two of Cups energy, they are going through some heartbreak here, feminine, whether they show it or not. And the masculine is not typically going to show this energy, especially if they are still in runner energy. They will suffer in silence. This could be late at night. This could be, just again, missing your energy, maybe going through your socials, but definitely feeling the distance and not enjoying the feeling that brings. It's also heartbreak about, previous uncomfortable situations or conversations that may have happened, and grieving the loss of this union, grieving the loss of this connection. It is a very deep, intense feeling of loss. Like I said in the beginning, it can feel like a death. And for the masculine, that can be very scary. But they need to go through this. And this is typically when we break the cycle, when we try and, especially if we know this is going on with the masculine, we then try to jump in to comfort them, save them. In the isolation is when they really have to sit in this pain without our energy distracting. What else for the masculine, please and thank you. Okay, so being ready to manifest something physically in this world. This is the start of something new, a new cycle, a new way of being in the physical world, planting seeds, ready to offer their seed. And that is exactly what the masculine's purpose is bringing forth their seed into the world. The feminine then receives it and amplifies the energy so as to grow it. So we also have to be in the energy of receiving in order for the masculine to have the space to give, to plant their seed, to offer their seed. And they will feel this energetically. You might say that you are willing to receive, but energy doesn't lie. So they will only come forward with this offer when they sense that there's a sense of safety. And at the moment, I do feel like they can sense that you are still working on your craft here, divine feminine, very focused on what you are doing. But again, Pentacles energy. So they bring in the 9 of Pentacles for you. They bring in the 9th Pentacle. And then together you create the 10 of Pentacles, which is the abundance. If you are willing to receive this pentacle and you are in the right space to receive, again with grace and with gratitude. So let me close off this reading. And at the bottom of the deck for the masculine is the card of self-deception. Card of deception. No longer, and this is the energy the masculine is usually in, is running away, stealing into the night, hoping no one sees them, not willing to see what the moon is illuminating for them, sticking your hoodie over your head and not willing to see what it is that needs to be seen in order to move through this heartbreak and choose differently and choose better and invite and enjoy a divine partnership into their lives. A lot of what the masculines struggle with is losing their sense of freedom or losing their sense of control in the connection. And that is what causes the running. What usually causes the running is this overwhelming feeling that I'm losing myself in this connection, or There's some kind of, addiction here. And that's what it feels like. That's what the connection feels like. Any closing words of advice and wisdom, Spirit, please and thank you for the masculine and feminine collective for this twin flame. So continue to do what you're doing, masculine and feminine. If the energy is right, the timing is right, the frequency is right, and we are all both stepping into our wholeness and into ascension and into our gifts and calling, working through timelines, then you will see the sacred union coming into being for yourself and for your person. Final words of guidance for now, Spirit, please and thank you for the twin flame energy collective, moving slowly, the Emperor and the Nine of Pentacles. Again, wow. So there is a pause in this connection, and it's important in order for us to integrate the lessons, to look at things from a different perspective. What's coming out as the advice is the Knight of Pentacles, slowest moving knight in the deck, card of Virgo, does things very methodically, doesn't rush in impulsively, very practical knight, knows the roadmap and takes steps one at a time in order to achieve the goal. And I think, as painful as this journey can be, that is exactly what you are busy with, Divine Feminine. And I feel like the masculine as well is working on your craft moment by moment, step by step, not trying to rush ahead to the end goal, the end vision. Sometimes when we are sitting in limiting belief and we haven't worked through our blockages, we don't have the ability to envision what is possible. So you don't even know what possibilities exist if you are creating visions from a limited place. And so it is about doing the work to understand, the roadmap and taking one step at a time and being able to pivot and flow and move as you need to. And this is still work that needs to be done slowly and methodically and with patience. You are standing in your independence, Divine Feminine. This is the minor arcana of the Empress. So you are definitely standing in your Divine Feminine, your independence, not needing the external validation, not afraid to be alone. And when we are in that energy, not being afraid to be alone, not being afraid to be isolated, then naturally we are not going to settle for anything that is not in alignment with who we are. And again, what we are calling in and what the masculine is working towards is this Emperor energy. It is the card of the Divine Masculine. It's the 4 kings in one, the integrated king energy, card of Aries. Aries takes action, and that is what masculine energy is about. It's about taking action, bringing forth the seed into the world so that the feminine can receive it. But if we are constantly moving in there, trying to fix things, reaching out, messaging, being energetically tied to the masculine, it doesn't allow them the space to take that action for themselves. And when they are able to step up and take action, the entire cycle shifts, the dynamic changes, the cycle shifts, and the running and chasing stops. But we both have to be in the right energy in order for that to happen. So beautiful message here for the Divine Feminine and Masculine. It's confirming that you should just keep doing what you are doing and have patience in the unfolding. And that's the card of Virgo. And again, I was saying, it is a painful journey. It can be extremely overwhelming at times. But if you continue to turn inward and focus on the reason you are doing this, finding your calling and finding your purpose and moving into purpose and alignment, the abundance that comes with that. And it's not just financial, it's everything, is incomparable. So if you just keep remembering what it is you're doing this for and take one step at a time, we will get through this intense period, divine feminine and masculine. So I hope this message helped. If you'd like a personal reading or more clarity about a situation, my details, I'll drop them in the description box. Until next time, sending you much love and light on this journey. Good luck.